I do for farm and for beekeeping.
Are we still waiting for the interpreter?
Well, we're waiting for the live streaming to start.
How many guests do we have on?
You got someone asking, could you please promote me to interpreter? Yeah, it's fine.
It's work.
It's work. That's right. They're paying me. I show up. That's right.
Okay, Nancy, are you, you should be in there now. We're ready to go.
All right. I will call this meeting of the Newburgh School Board to order. I'm serving as chair this evening because Director Brown couldn't be here. So our first order of business is the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Director DeHart, for leading that. All right, we'll take a moment to review our agenda. We're going to do public comments, followed by student representative comments, union representative comments, board and superintendent comments. We'll move on to our consent agenda. Then under old business, we have approved the board calendar and the discussion of our board retreat. And then under new business, we have designating signatories for our district office and Newburgh High School, the 2022-2023 academic calendar revision, food commodities contracts, and some stuff related to meal prices. And then we will have our executive session. All right, so let's start with public comments. Who's reading that for us this evening? Lisa. Lisa, you ready?
I am ready. It tells me that I cannot turn my video on, so you're going to have to just kind of visualize there. Okay. So the first one is from Richard and Tracy Sutherland. We received a letter from the Newburgh High School on Tuesday informing us that most of the agricultural classes are being canceled and FFA, while still maintaining status, is being tremendously hobbled. The letter said, among other things, the decision was made after consulting with, quote, stakeholders, unquote. What stakeholders, question mark. As a parent of an active FFA student, I would think that my family and I would be stakeholders. We would like to know why you're cutting back on CTE, often one of the only places where some kids can find their place when they aren't on a college track. The letter we received said the job for the replacement ag teacher and FFA advisor was posted for 2 weeks and they didn't find anyone. 2 weeks, question mark. That's how much time you think it takes to find an acceptable replacement? Again, another question mark. Why did you give up after 2 weeks rather than post until filled? You owe our kids more than that, having, quote, ag leadership, unquote, as the only ag class so that you can keep FFA isn't good enough. Find community partners to help, find other places to hold classes, and ask for volunteers. Advanced welding and some engineering is being held off-site. Surely you can make the same effort for agriculture. We're told, quote, it's only for 1 year, unquote, but since we didn't have in-person classes for over a year, it's actually a third of my child's high school career. Unacceptable. Why should my son keep attending Newburgh High School? My son wants to finish his high school experience here in Newburgh But the increasing lack of opportunities here make it apparent that Newburgh isn't interested in maintaining their educational programs and retaining high-performing students. My son is president of the FFA and a rising junior, and he's now being told that his leadership team cannot recruit more FFA members because there are no ag classes to qualify them for membership. I understand there is a replacement FFA advisor who's well qualified and will do a good job, but that doesn't resolve the issue of the lack of support for vocational education. I understand that cuts sometimes have to be made and the bond construction complicates things, but I urge you to try harder. Next is one from Les Ruark. Dave and Brian, geez, you guys talk about some just plain way out of whack thinking. The steadfastly discriminative and selfish thinking you two continue to push no matter the cost to your board as a governing body or your school system itself as an actual quote community unquote is supposed to be considered as is just so incredibly disturbing to watch even from afar. An absolutely disconcerting direction and overall situation you've marshaled. Period. That's really the only bottom line to it there can be for anyone else across the state possessing any degree of reasonableness to see you as these days, more importantly, to see your district as. How, for heaven's sake, especially as the God-fearing ones you so proclaim to base your thinking upon, can you actually justify such obviously arrogant, arrived at in isolation? How the heck is that possible? It is certainly definitely beyond me. Whatever, please know that simply as one native Oregonian, until the situation with the Newburgh School District somehow dramatically changes to reflect some level of more recognizable and equitable norm, I will no longer be including Newburgh amongst any doings, travel or otherwise, I have in that area of the state. Absolutely not, for better or worse, and going forward. I will actively advocate to as many other Oregonians who will listen to take the same course of action. Sincerely and just as seriously minded as you, Les Ruark. The next one is from Denise. I'm sad to see the two board members go. They have served us well. To the rest of the board, I'm disgusted by your actions. I'm disgusted by your inability to accept a human that is not Caucasian, cisgender, and straight is worthy. My daughter went from being a 3.8 student to having to be begged to finish the school year. A big part of that is her mental health. It was damaged by the increase in hurtful remarks at the school district, following in line with your hateful ideology. You lose our dollars via enrollment. She gave you dollars for being tagged, being a student, and being disabled on the autism spectrum. She's dropping out of full-time thanks to you after only completing her sophomore year. What a disappointment, but I can't blame her. She happens to be LGBTQ+. Pride flags have been around for over 30 years. You are wrong here, and the history won't look fondly on you. Remember, those who were for slavery also fought progress and also were convinced they were protecting what was right. We don't honor them. Not all of your community, just 52%. Remember that. Be honorable, find the middle ground. Thank you for your time, and it hurts you don't care. Next one is from Judy Tokstad. Dear school board members, I know you have read my comments before, but I always wonder if you hear them. I understand. I usually address you out of anger and frustration, and we all know that is no way to capture an audience. I come to you again tonight out of concern for our district's teachers, staff, and our students. Only this time I'm approaching you with the respect of your held positions. You are in a position that serves a critical role in the education of our children. In listening to previous board meetings, I'm deeply concerned you have been blinded by a national narrative of student indoctrination. It is scary to think our students could be indoctrinated into anything that could impact them in a negative way. I am sure my concerns of indoctrination are different than yours, but we both have a fear of indoctrination. You see, we have something in common. We are driven by fear and not by intellect. We want to shelter our children every step of the journey. The big injustice to this way of thinking, we're trying to shelter our children from the very things that prepare us for life as grown-ups. In your position, you have the responsibility that should not be taken lightly. You have an educational decision to make that will impact a large student body. You have students who are currently suffering from social anxiety caused by national news and local behavior. What happens on the outside happens inside the school walls. If we are to prepare our students for life outside these four walls, critical thinking must be allowed. I know that the largest and most successful businesses in the Northwest are committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Do you think it's healthy or productive to have a learning environment that's not committed or excludes the teaching around diversity, equity, and inclusion? To prepare them for a workplace, we must recognize we cannot shelter them. We must teach them. They will thank you later for helping them understand the importance of this commitment. Please consider your responsibilities to these students. Diversity is fact, equity is choice, inclusion is an action, belonging is an outcome. Sincerely, Judy Tokstad. And the next one is from Ruth Schoenhals. To listeners, thank you for public comments raising alarm about the board and superintendent. If you're sending emails, please send them to the public comment box as well. Of the 30 minutes of public comments at the meeting, only 10 or 15 minutes are filled. Your concerned comments will accurately document our distress. To the board and superintendent at the June 14th budget hearing, resignations were noted as being typical for spring and summer. However, our current exodus is unusual and alarming. So far, the number of staff resigning this year has more than tripled. Most can no longer be associated with the destructive actions and interests of this board and superintendent. Students and staff are losing irreplaceable keys to their success. We notice these losses differently. Personally and professionally, I noticed the following. One, my former students who returned as my colleagues and as inspirations to our current students are leaving. These returning teachers could be our greatest treasures to nurture and to learn from so we can move forward. But now their careers are in such jeopardy that they have moved to other districts to my and our enormous loss. Two, the architects of our son's original IEP, whose care for him never wavered, are now both gone. This is a huge loss to him and our family. Three, losing so many skilled staff at CV and Mountain View will compromise middle school for our daughter and for my students when they leave elementary school. Please stop the bleeding. Show our educators that you will help us move forward to implement the Oregon education and visions, that you value and build equity, that you will work with staff and students, not frighten them again, not fight against them. Prove now that you truly cherish our staff, students, and families. Thank you, Ruth Schoenhals, Newburgh parent and teacher. And that is all our public comment for tonight, Chair.
Thank you. All right, next up, we have our student rep comments. Maddie, Rowan, you guys ready? They didn't show up for the last meeting.
I think Maddie gave her kind of
Yeah.
last thing.
All right.
Yeah.
But
I think
was
Rowan
gonna
did
say that.
too. I think Rowan
Yeah.
said that her spiel and then gave her speech.
Rowan did. Maddie was gonna.
And
come
Maddie
back.
said she was
Yeah,
going to
no,
come
that's
back,
all right.
but didn't.
Well, we appreciate their service through the year and they did a great job. And all right,
Very much.
a credit to our schools. All right, next we have union representative comments. We'll start with our classified union. Jen, you ready?
Here I am. I don't think you can see me. I think my video's off, but that's okay. I just want to make a comment about the changes going on in the district and how it. My hope is that as changes happen, that administration will become familiar, new administration familiar, and reach out and become familiar with me and my executive board and be able to have an open conversation should problems arise or questions arise. And I hope that as a and especially as a superintendent, that those administrators will take the opportunity to do that. Also, I will never quit saying this. Please stop by a school. We still have classified staff working. All of our janitors, custodians, sorry, our custodians, our maintenance, our grounds. We have a lot of work going on in the schools right now. I was over at Maple Rush today, and there's HVAC work going on with lots of people in there. We have care going on that our custodians are having to work around, and summer school will be starting soon. That also includes some classified. So if you have a chance to be out and about as board members,
to be able to go into a building and experience the actual work, hard work that students and staff are putting in. That would be very much appreciated. And I hope you all have a great 4th of July and a great summer. That's it.
Hey, Jen, okay, this is Trevor. Hey,
Yeah.
can we reach out to you if we have some time? Are you going to be touring some of the other schools? Could we tag along, or
Well,
how
I
does
don't,
logistics work?
I was only in there today because I was requested to be in there by my principal for a meeting. You probably could call Tim Lauer, who's our excellent principal and great principal over at Maple Rush. He's over there, and that's where summer school will be. And I know Jillian Lazarda from the district office is running summer school school this year. So you might get in touch with her and over there. I'm leaving town next week, so
Okay.
you know, that's how that works. My grandkids trump everybody. So
As it should be.
that's just how it is. So yeah, give Jillian a call and you'll be able to tag along with her and go see what's going on this summer and how much work and extra stuff people put in. Because I think that that's what's gotten lost in a lot of hoopla for better work, is all of the work, the actual work that's going on in these schools by teachers, whatever your opinion might be, or misperception or whatever. You got to be in the schools to know really what you're talking about. So that might be a good start to just over to Maple Rush or over at the high school. They have summer school going on too, and take the opportunity to actually go and interact with these awesome students and staff.
Yeah. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you very much, Jen. Appreciate your comments this evening. I'm being told that we don't have licensed union comments this evening, so we'll skip that. And we'll move on to board comments. Director DeHart, start with you.
I don't really have anything to say. I'm kind of excited about the future. We've been talking kind of one-on-one about where we're going. I think one of the priorities is developing a strategic plan. I've expressed to Dr. Phillips that I'd like to see some coordination between administrators and teachers and staff, and start talking about maybe what the obstacles that they're experiencing, and see if we can remove some of those to focus on the primary responsibilities that they have. So I don't know, I'm pretty excited about what the future brings. I know that we've had some exodus, and we'll kind of talk about that in the consent agenda, but I think we're in good hands, and we'll backfill those and hopefully be prepared for the students' return. So that's it.
Director Peregrino.
I'd like to thank Jen Esmond for the information to connect with some of the teams that are still working. That is, I appreciate that. And I took notes so that I can attend to just see what's happening, and just I guess I would like to reinforce my opinion that I think a lot of people work really hard in this school district and have really good intentions and best interest of the kids at heart. So I would not want to have a message that we or me or we as a board don't think that people are working hard, because we know there's a lot of hard work happening in all levels, in all employees, and the students too, who put their best to excel. So my intention is to continue to support the efforts that will enhance education opportunities, including looking into, these programs that may be canceling, may be reduced, and, have conversations so that we can make sure that all these extracurricular activities are available for our students, and that there are opportunities for our students to seek what their talents best suit them and develop skills so that they can leave the school environment prepared for whatever path that they have. I think that's it. Thank you.
Director Pop.
Yes, and I would also like to see about a way of keeping those classes because I feel they're very important. And also, I look forward to hopefully get into the schools this summer after our summer vacation thing, and hopefully in August. I can get in there and see all the new stuff that's happening in the schools and see firsthand what's going on before school gets kicking back into gear again. So, yeah, and I'm also excited to see what happens this next year and all the new changes and new people coming aboard. And so, yeah, that's about it.
Well, I was going to use my comments to just rave about Maddie and Rowan, but they're not here for me to gush over. So I guess I'll skip that. But seriously, thank you to them for their time. Young people have a lot more entertaining things that they could do than spend several hours every other week with us. So it was kind of them to do that. And I also support looking at ways that we can restore the FFA and agricultural classes as well. So hopefully we can get into that a little bit tonight. Mr. Superintendent, your comments.
All right, thank you. So I wanted to give the board an update on some of the hiring that's been going on at the administrative level. Last week for CV Middle School, we interviewed 4 candidates. We ended up hiring Andy Du Bois. He is currently vice principal at the high school. And so he's been there for 7 years as vice principal. Administrative jobs elsewhere as well. He's ready to lead a building. So we're excited about that. So I think that's a great hire. Dundee Elementary, those interviews will take place this Thursday. And so that's coming right along. The director of HR and assessment, it actually closed today, and we plan on interviewing on July 6th. So that's coming right up. All day today, we negotiated with the certified union. They had a team of 6, and then we had a team of 6, and we went at it for the day. And a lot of things we agree on, making good progress, and we'll be at it again tomorrow for the day. So I wanted to just say publicly, thank both teams for their time. It's I don't think it's anything on anybody's bucket list to be involved in negotiations for a couple of days. And so I appreciate everybody's time being there, all 12 of them. And then Jen mentioned summer school. I visited Mountain View yesterday, and they're in full-blown summer school with high school kids and middle school kids because the high school's construction and what have you. So they put them off to middle school. A lot of kids there, a lot of credit recovery, a lot of good stuff going on. So, and what's interesting, I don't know if it's just this year or if it's what Newburgh does every year, but the time between when teachers' contract ended, last week, and then they jumped right into summer school the very next, where they were going to do it the very next Monday, but because of Juneteenth, they did it the very next Tuesday. And so they didn't get much of a break. So they're at it hard again, working with kids, which is admirable. So I appreciate them. And that's all I have.
All right. Okay, that takes us to our consent agenda. in our consent agenda, we have approving the minutes of the June 14th, 2022 meeting, accepting probationary license contracts, accepting licensed teacher resignations, accepting licensed teacher retirements, and accepting administrator resignations. And I would entertain a motion.
I move that the Newburgh School District Board of Directors approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we accept the consent agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we'll move to the vote. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Aye. Vote passes 4-0. On to old business. Approving the board calendar, which is Director Brown's topic. So I guess it's my topic now. All right, get to that page. Okay. So I'll just read this since I wasn't prepared to present this. The board will discuss options for the calendar of board meeting dates for the 2022-2023 school year to be finalized and approved at the June 20th meeting. Staff has looked at the calendar, proposed possible dates for board meetings based on the current second and fourth Tuesday meeting days, holidays, and other factors. And so you guys have the calendar there. Does anyone have any problems with the calendar, anything that they'd like to see changed? And if not, I'd entertain a motion to accept the calendar.
I move that the Newburgh School District Board of Directors approve the 2022-2023 board meeting calendar as presented.
I second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approving the board calendar as presented, raise your hand. That passes unanimously. Next action of old business is signatories for the building level for student body accounts. And I will turn it over to Nikki Fowler.
Chair, please discuss board.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, it won't allow me to start
Nope.
video, but that's fine. So what's in the board packet is pretty self-explanatory. We're updating staff on there. The first page is striking out employees who have left and adding a few. In the next month or so, we'll be submitting some more as we get more names coming on board. So we are just wanting a motion to approve these changes so we can update bank accounts.
I guess I do have a question, Nikki, and I discussed this with Dr. Phillips earlier. Should, on the added people, should Larry be on there since he's the active bond manager?
On which
Larry
part?
Hampton. On,
Right.
I guess, the second page.
Let me go back up there.
So it's got Greg Costello as the bond manager. During his absence, Larry Hampton's the acting bond manager. Is that correct? So should he?
Well, he is probably not at this time because this is for signing on checks and we have enough other signers. I think that we'll be fine with that one at this point.
Okay.
So would it be prudent to update this? I mean, I'm just concerned that I guess my question is, how easy is it to go in and update this documentation? It will require a new board vote on this, correct?
At our next available board meeting, if there's changes, we can do it at that time.
Okay,
It's a big process to actually change names on an account. So we wouldn't typically do it if we're looking at covering for a month or two.
I guess my question is, should we hold off on this? Seeing that there are some changes that that might take place on this list?
I wouldn't at this point because we need to get Dr. Phillips added
Okay,
and we need a board motion in order for me to send that to the banks, have the documentation in order to make that happen.
Okay.
And we will have to do an update. For instance, Newburgh High School, as I just reported, Andy is no longer going to be there.
right.
So, that'll be a new name. As you know, Nikki is resigned, effective in July. So that'll have to go, so there'll be some changes.
Okay.
We'll have to just get to them,
As they come up. Gotcha.
Okay. I move that the Newburgh School District Board of Directors approve, Move that the Newburgh School District Board of Directors approve and designate the depository signatures for fiscal year 2022-2023 as listed.
I'll go on.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving the motion to approve and designate the depository signatures for fiscal year 22-23 as listed, raise your hand. All opposed? Passes unanimously. Director DeHart did point out to me that on our agenda, we have a discussion of board retreat prior to that last item. However, I don't know, I don't see any notes in our packet.
Yeah, there are no
Chair Brown
notes.
had mentioned a date and I didn't. get
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And was it?
August 20th
Yes.
is what I heard.
August 20th. It's a Saturday.
Okay.
His plans are pretty economical. It was to meet in the morning and by then I would assume we would have the two new board members sworn in. So it was kind of a get to know you, the current board with the new board, also myself, the new director of HR and assessment. Some kind of get to know you activities and a little bit of vision work from myself about what, how to get into the strategic planning. Also some board norms about how the board should communicate with district leadership and vice versa. So just it won't be an all-day affair. It would be mostly in the morning when we're talking about doing a fun activity like going on a quick hike and then having a barbecue meal together. And so it's fairly low key, more than anything, building relationships and setting some kind of protocols for the future.
That'll be great. I don't think we need any motions or anything related to that. Any further discussion?
Oh, I just had a question about the filling the positions, and I think there was a couple of applications maybe that have come
I
in.
think we have 3
Okay,
total.
and I can't remember the process of that. It's like, what do we,
Well, maybe.
yeah. What was the process?
If anyone remembers it.
I believe at our next board meeting, we will have the packets and the applicants here and you will interview them and review the packets and then vote on who would fill the 2 vacancies.
What date does it close, the application?
It closes this, I'm sorry, it closes, I believe, July 7th. It's the Thursday before the next board meeting. That way
Understood.
gives me time to put the information in the packet and get that to you.
So for all who are interested in participating in the board, those who are willing to volunteer your time and your expertise, and the website for the district has the board, on our district website, there's information on who you need to email in order to apply for this position. So I encourage those who want to, put yourself out there to serve your community to do it.
And I would assume that you would interview however many, and then you would appoint and swear in that very night. And then I would also assume that as soon as that's complete, then you would nominate a board chair and a vice chair and have a full board to vote on that.
That is, I think it's because it'll be the first in July, right?
The first meeting of July is July
Yes,
12th.
that's my understanding.
I think that's what we did last time is we
Yeah.
moved the swearing into the front so that the new board members could take part in the election.
Yeah.
So I think we should do that. All right. On to our next item, which is 2023 academic calendar revision. Nikki, you have the floor.
Okay, in your packet are 3 options. I am just presenting, I did not pull these together, so the description here is what I have, so hopefully you've reviewed them. Do you have any questions on them? And I might add also, we need to get one in place so we can move forward with some payroll and some setup going into next year. With that being said, we can bring it back to the board at a later date if there's other changes. So,
Hey, Nikki, so you got 3 options here. I was looking at that earlier. So the first one is to move the last day of school for students to June 20th. Was the 19th the original last day?
I believe so. I did not have the first one here to compare it to, but that would make sense because we have to bump the calendar out.
So the original
But
calendar had January 2nd as first week back from Christmas to holiday break, and January 2nd is actually a holiday.
Hmm.
So we are having to shift everything. And so, and then, as we know, June 19th is now a federal holiday. So
Yeah, and the only reason I ask is because on the board meeting calendar, it's got the last day as the 15th, June 15th.
yeah, that hasn't been updated.
Okay, so it was a mistake.
Adopted a new calendar.
So the last day, because we're trying to make up for that extra day, moving from the 2nd to the 3rd. And so I assume that the last day was June 19th and we'd just be moving it to the 20th? No?
No.
We're moving it to the Friday.
So there are 3
Well, the first
options
one.
and I think the main differentiator in these are, of course, the start. I think the 3rd option has a start on Friday before
Labor Day.
Memorial, so Labor Day, so that's odd to me, so I didn't even look further because to me, it just doesn't. And then
One-
between, I'm sorry?
one other item. So on option 2, in an effort to push the days out a little bit, you don't want one day in your final week. It makes it wonky. So they added a day in December to push the dates, put a couple days in that last week. So that's the difference on that one.
Yeah, when I was looking through these, the option that to me made more sense was option number 2. Because it keeps, it doesn't, like, hey, one extra day after the holiday, doesn't seem, that it's hard for families to plan a holiday when your kid has to go back to school on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And, just thinking as that planning goes. And
My concern with 2 is December 19th. I wonder how many
Yeah.
of our kids would skip Monday, the 19th, when it's only one day.
true.
Yeah, that was my concern.
I'm sorry, that's your concern with option 2,
Yeah,
but option 2 is to add a school day to December 12th.
yeah, I think that's a misprint because it's the
Yeah.
19th.
Oh, okay. Hmm,
Is that right, Shannon?
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that. And again.
I don't know, I like option 1.
Push it out another day.
Yeah, I think it'd just be strange starting school before Labor Day and then going into a 3-day weekend.
Hmm,
But then you're staying an extra day. You're coming back to school right after Juneteenth.
yeah, I
So you
mean,
have that last day also
For option 1.
for option 1.
I think you have a better chance of people coming back for the 19th of December than you do for
Right.
the 20th of June,
Yeah.
frankly.
I agree with that.
Could be true. Well, and hopefully I'm not stepping on any toes here, but we are in negotiations. And one of the things in negotiations that we can discuss are contract days. And currently the teachers have a 192-day contract. And there has been discussions of reducing that. And if that happened, then some of these little tweaks could be cleaned up.
Okay.
And so I hate to say it might not matter which one you pick, because there might be some tweaking due to negotiations, but that's possible, quite possible.
And we could have a whole bunch of snow days this year.
When will those negotiations be finalized, you think?
Nikki, did you hear that question?
When was what going to be finalized?
Negotiations.
We don't know yet, so that's a work in progress.
It's tough to say.
Okay, before the start of the next school year is
I
the
would
hope,
hope so.
right? Yeah, so,
And I would think that if you had that happen, then, we would start on the 6th, which is after Labor Day. And then you would use those other days to clean up, whether it was the December issue or the June issue.
well, I'm leaning towards option 2. I think that's the least disruptive for folks. And I hate that we pushed the school year so far into June already.
Yeah,
I don't want to push it further into June.
no.
Yeah, I agree. That 19th of December is kind of in the middle of the way, but I think it's less disruptive than really stopping, like coming back to school after a holiday or starting school right after, before a holiday. So I would think that.
Mhm.
Does anyone have strong disagreements with that? Or should we make a motion and move on with the business?
I think 2 would probably be the best for right now.
Trevor?
We have to be unanimous. to get things
Yeah,
passed
no,
tonight,
I don't really like any of them, but yeah, I guess, there's, I guess, cons to each one of them. But there's plenty of time there for people to plan accordingly, so.
Yeah, I doubt anyone's winter break is set in stone yet.
All right.
So I'll make a motion. I move that the Newburgh School District Board of Directors approve option 2 for the 2022-2023 academic calendar as presented.
Is there a second?
I second.
The motion has been made and seconded to approve option 2, adding a school day to December 19th. Any further discussion? In that case, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Passes unanimously. All right, next up, we have the food commodities contract for Spring Valley Dairy. So I'll turn it over to Shiloh.
Good evening, Board of Directors and Dr. Phillips. So our first item up is our dairy RFP. which we contract out through Spring Valley Dairy. We did a co-op purchasing with 12 school districts, and we're able to add Mount Angel School District in the middle of the year. And we're just looking for an extension. So when we did our original RFP, we have an option of 4 additional years. So doing a co-op like this gets us the best competitive pricing. So we're looking for a motion to approve another year extension with this contract.
Any discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I will move that the Newburgh School District Board of Directors approve a 1-year extension of RFP D 2020-2025 with Spring Valley Dairy to serve Newburgh Public School during the 2023 school year.
Well, second,
A motion has been made and seconded to approve the contract with Spring Valley Dairy to serve Newburgh Public Schools during the 22-23 school year. Is there any discussion? In that case, I will call for the vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Passes unanimously. All right, Shiloh.
All right, I'm going to keep moving because I know we have 3 other items on here. So the next one is our bread RFP, which we go through Goody Man Distributing. McMinnville School District ran this procurement process. Same thing, getting 12 school districts to do a competitive bid on our bread services. And this would be another 1-year extension using Goody Man Distribution for the school year 22-23.
So I will move that the Newburgh School District Board of Directors approve a 1-year extension of the RFP B 2020-2025 with Goody Men Distributing to serve Newburgh Public School during the 2022-2023 school years.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded to approve the contract with Goody Man Distributing to serve the Newburgh Public School District during the 22-23 school year. Is there any discussion?
I guess I've got one question for you, Shiloh. So it looks like these RFPs and contracts are broken out. One's dairy, one's bread. Am I reading that right?
Yes, that's correct.
So I guess just for my own education, why do we break it out? Why isn't it all food services?
Well, like for example, we're going to go, our next one is with Cisco Portland. So we decided, you could do it that way, Director DeHart, but if you single out sources that you're buying a lot of, so we're going straight to Goody Man, a source that provides bread products, you're more advantageous for better pricing than going through like a Cisco co-op so we're just taking it like strictly to the distributor. So I couldn't group Spring Valley and Goody Man together because they're 2 different distributors. So those are typically high items for school district that we spend a lot of money over the procurement threshold that we need to do a formal procurement process. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's good. Thank you.
Do we have a motion on that?
Yeah.
Yes, we did. Okay.
Okay, so, sorry.
Well, we still have to vote on the motion.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? In that case, I will call for the vote. All in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Passes unanimously.
Okay, now we're jumping into our broadline distributor RFP, and this is with Cisco Portland. So Newburgh Public Schools and 74 other school districts are part of the OCNC, which is the Oregon Child Nutrition Coalition co-op purchasing group. And what they did this year is they launched an RFP, which was about a $19.3 million contract. And between the 75 school districts, we get to choose which products that we want to carry, and we submit them to OCNC, and they go out for a competitive bid
with 75 different school districts, and they award this contract to the highest bidder. And a lot of the food from Cisco, this is our paper products, our breakfast items, our lunch entrees, fresh fruit and veggies. So this is a little bit more of an encompassing RFP. So we're looking for Newburgh School District to do agreement with the RFP that we will award Cisco Portland. So each school district has the option to hop into this RFP, I should say.
As part of the, you mean to hop into the RFP or the Oregon Child Nutrition Coalition? Co-op?
Well, I guess it would be for both. Yeah, we have the option to be a part and use this procurement method that is done through this co-op.
So the RFP for 19.3 million was for the 75 school, an estimate of what they will consume or.
Yep.
just-
So we're not bound by any price for Newburgh School District. It's just we have price agreements under the items that we listed in other school districts.
Understood. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Shiloh, I have a question real quick.
Yeah.
If you were to go out on your own and not in a co-op of 75 districts, what's the difference percentage wise? Do you think we're saving by co-oping with the other 74? Do you think we're saving 10%, 15%, 5%? Any idea?
About 10 to 15, I would say. You know, we could go out. It's a lot of work. I mean, I think that's what's so intriguing about doing a co-op is you're kind of mutually agreeing to purchase the same goods as someone else. For example, like Portland Public Schools, they do their own procurement method. Their school district is so big that they don't need a co-op for the amount of volume that they're buying. With the amount of volume that we're buying, I think it's more advantageous for us to be a part of a co-op. Places like Beaverton, I don't know if, I think Beaverton's a part of the OCNC. I would have to take a look at that list again in Hillsborough, but the only one that I'm aware of in Oregon that really goes out separate as not part of co-ops is Portland Public Schools, just because of the sheer amount of product that they go through.
Thanks.
And I have another question. Is any of the purchased food items local?
Yes, so they do have local items. We still have our farm to school grant that we have every year. We have about 23,000 that we get to go procure from local farmers, and there is local, like they have a local fresh sheet for vegetables, or some of the manufacturers are actually here in Oregon, like Roadrunner Pizza, Wild Mike's. There's several distributors in Oregon that they carry. And I like.
Thank you.
If there is no further discussion, I'd entertain a motion.
I move that the Newburgh School District Board of Directors approve procurement using RFP 2023-01 with Cisco Portland to serve our school district for the 22-23 school year.
I'll
Is there a-
second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the procurement using RFP 2023-01 with Cisco Portland to serve the school district for 22-23 school year. Is there any further discussion? If not, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, raise your hand. Passes unanimously. All right.
Last
Biggest
one.
one strong.
Yep. So the last thing I'm bringing forward before the board is an increase in breakfast prices for elementary and middle school. Since the pandemic, the USDA granted all students were able to eat for free without doing eligibility applications. And what generated what our meal prices would be each year was something called a paid lunch equity tool, which has some formulas built in based on how many free meals and how many paid meals you do throughout an entire year. It shows you a target amount of what your paid breakfast and lunches should be. So this year, a waiver came out where Newburgh School District is not obligated to raise school prices. However, with rising prices, and we know that next year, talking with a lot of directors, we're anticipating a big jump. I wanted to make 2 adjustments just for the breakfast of elementary and middle school. We're hitting the same pricing within like McMinnville, Sherwood, Tigard. When I did a price comparison, what's out there. And that would be moving our breakfast for elementary to $2 and middle school to $2.25. And what it was previously, the elementary was $1.75 and middle school was $2.
Charlotte, why are those the only 2 prices that we're changing?
Because I felt like we were competitive in matching what everybody else was doing locally. However, since I have been at Newburgh, I have not adjusted any prices because my first year was the pandemic. And I would say that is a pretty low breakfast of what I came into. And I think that should kind of be aligned more what everybody else is charging. Our reimbursement is about $260 the last time for a free breakfast. So I just think bringing that up a little bit would help us cover some costs and not have such a huge jump when we have to do the PLE next year.
What's the PLE?
The paid lunch equity. So I'm just trying to kind of match what everybody is. So when the paid lunch equity tool that every school district will have to do next year, that it's not so dramatic. At least the school districts surrounding us, we're all going to be in a similar boat, raising the prices the same. I mean, it's not going to be completely equal across the board because, again, the paid lunch equity tool gauges between how many free meals and what your eligibility count is to how many paid meals you're serving.
Is that a USDA tool?
Yes, it is a USDA tool. And typically of what we've seen, like before I started at Newburgh, is you would see a 5 to 10 cents raise in meal prices every year. I think that we're a little nervous because, we haven't done it in 3 years, that it's going to be a pretty dramatic increase the following year, which would be the 23-24. Ooh, God, thinking that far ahead hurts my brain.
Charlotte, what is the high school? What will the high school charge for breakfast?
Let me look that up real quick. I believe breakfast at the high school is $2.50.
So every 25 cents.
I have a question. So I know that it makes sense to, just raise it 25 cents if
Yep.
it makes, a rounder number, but it's almost 15% to the elementary and 12 and a little bit percent to the middle school. Would there be a way to leverage that so that there's not that difference, or would that be very complex to?
Oh no, we can do whatever. Like, are you saying do 185? To not make such a steep increase?
I don't want to make it complicated for if there is money being exchanged. I don't know.
Yeah.
If people have to bring money but
Board of
it's not towards
directors,
my time.
we're not complicating this one bit, because we are not obligated. We have a waiver out there that we don't have to do the paid lunch equity tool. I was just, again, this is me just trying to be a little bit proactive, kind of going into a year with higher expenses and food costs rising, that I think that we need to be a little bit more competitive. I'm shocked when I came in, that is a pretty low number from even what I was running at Yamhill Carlson School District 3 years ago. Again, that is pre-pandemic pricing, and we're just moving it up kind of to be a little bit more consistent with other school districts.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the suggested numbers. I'm just trying to bring awareness that while the rounding sounds, well, it's just 25 cents for each of them, the percentage is a little different. So
Yeah.
I am, if there is a need to increase in 25 cents, to support, the food, the cost of food increase that has happened, just that, 14 and 12% is where we are with this increase. Is that what we're seeing in the market? Maybe it's a little less than that. Maybe it's a little more than that. So just something to think about.
Yeah.
So are we currently covering our costs with the prices that we're charging, Shiloh?
Yes, we would be. I think there's some unforeseen, Director Shannon. We're starting to see this past month of seeing some increased pricing from our vendors. They've been very proactive about reaching out, but there's always something that comes up in the middle of the school year where prices need to be driven up. I mean, you can really adjust this at any point in the school year. I mean, we try not to do that to families because this is such a planning tool in general for families to plan out a year. Keep in mind that this is what we charge a paid student, but USDA also reimburse us a little bit on top of this to cover costs as well. It's not as high as a free and reduced student. They try. So if we charge, let's take this for example, $2 is for a middle school breakfast. USDA is gonna offset any of that price to do like a $260 reimbursement total. And I don't have the numbers exactly for me, but they offset those prices to make it equal what you would get from a free and reduced student, a free meal reimbursed at like $2.60. Does that make sense? So like a paid student pays $2, USDA would come in and pick up that balance. And I don't have that exact number in front of me. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, thinking further about this, this increase covers a little bit of inflation, but what we are right now, but I think there are some items food included that are higher than that, so I think it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, we also haven't raised in like 3 years. So.
Yeah, just really good question, good conversations. Thank you, Shiloh, for that information and for digging deeper with us to find out more about it.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Is there further discussion? Do we feel like we want to move on this tonight?
Yeah, I think.
I'll move that the Newburgh School District Board of Directors approve the increase of breakfast prices for elementary schools to $2 and middle schools to $2.25.
I'll second.
Any further discussion before we vote? It's been moved and seconded to approve the increase of breakfast prices for elementary schools to $2 and middle schools to $2.25. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand to vote aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Thanks, Shiloh.
Thank you.
Shiloh.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda, we have a discussion of future board agenda items. Anything anyone wants to discuss? Wants to request for a future board agenda?
We've already discussed it, but the new board members will be on the 12th.
Yeah.
New board leadership, or same board leadership, but will be on the 12th.
Before we adjourn the meeting, do you want to talk at all about the agriculture program and just kind of give us the rundown of what the state of that is and what we're looking at doing?
Yeah, so I wrote their names down. Richard and Tracy Sutherland. So I received that same email. So when I received that email, I pushed it off to the high school principal and her team, and they reached out and talked to them. And so I think it's evolved since the email that was read.
Okay.
Because that email that was read I think it was the very next day after our last board meeting.
Sure.
And so about 2 weeks has went by.
Okay.
So it's evolving. Frankly, it's similar to the performing arts. We did lose the ag instructor. They did post it. I believe they posted it for longer than 2 weeks and they didn't have any applicants.
Okay.
Also, the facility is up in the air because of construction. And so it was just kind of it's tough. There was no viable
space, no
candidates. There was
teacher.
really no space. It made a lot of sense to put the program on hold for a year. And then get way out in front and post the position, the ag position, like in December. And so, and recruit at OSU, et cetera. So to really get a good head start on it.
Okay.
It isn't ideal. It's really too bad, but I think it's what kind of had to be done for this 1 year.
Yeah, so it's a temporary blip in a
Yes.
program that we support and will hopefully resurrect stronger than ever.
Absolutely.
Vice Chair, Cheryl just asked if you could add something.
Yes, of course.
Thank you, Director Shannon. I just also wanted to bring up that our van purchase that the board approved in April got pushed out to July, which would be a start of a new fiscal year. So the board will probably, I let Dr. Phillips know this and Nikki Fowler, that the board will probably have to do another resolution because I didn't budget for it for next year's school budget. We do have it. We do have the funds available, but since it's not landing in this fiscal year, it's landing in the next fiscal year. I just wanted to bring that to your attention that will probably be coming up in July or August.
Why did it push out?
Chips. They didn't have the computer chip.
A common problem these days, right?
Right. If it's not one thing, it's something, right?
You live in interesting times. All right. Well, thank you, Shiloh. Thank you for that update. All right. Now we are going to recess to executive session as per ORS 192.6602H to consider the employment of a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent, and to consult with counsel concerning current or possible litigation.
Board Chair Shannon, could I make one clarification? And it's my fault for having forwarded expanded citation, but we're only going in to talk about litigation. Isn't that correct? I don't think there's a higher.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah,
Thank you,
there's,
Lisa.
there's
Thank
no
you for that
higher
clarification.
decision. Thank you.
And we are like 40 set, no. Yeah.
You're darn right we are.